Okay, it's January 22nd, 2024. I'm Todd Dunn. Today I want to talk about retiring and then moving to Mount Desert Island, Maine for your retirement. I'm thinking that I'm going to do a whole series of videos on this topic addressing various aspects of it. And today what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about some of the monetary aspects of moving here, in particular, getting a place to live. So let's start off. What are your options when you move here in terms of a place to live? Well, they're actually pretty limited. The availability of long-term rental properties on the island is right now essentially zero. Why is that? Well, a landlord who owns a house can do a lot better renting it out by the week during the tourist season than they can by renting it out by the month. So what does it cost if you wanted to rent by the week here? Well, here's an example. Just here in Bass Harbor, there is a 2-bedroom, 1,000-square-foot house just up the road from me that rents by the week. And it goes for about $2,000 a week. And if you wanted a nicer place, say 3 bedrooms, a couple of bathrooms, etc., you're going to pay considerably more. If you want waterfront, you're going to be looking at $5,000, $10,000, maybe even $15,000 a week, depending on how fancy the property is and how big it is. And that's every week. And they have no inclination to rent to you at a rate longer than a weekly rate because there's plenty of demand and pretty much anybody can fill whatever they want with short-term rentals. So what's that leave? Well, if you want to move here, that leaves buying a house. So what I want to do for the rest of this video is talk a little bit about the political geography of the island and what current housing costs are on Mount Desert Island. And when I talk about current housing costs, what I'm going to do is tell you how many places are available to buy right now, today, on the 22nd of January, 2024, in each of the 4 towns, what the median price is, what the range is, and then we'll look briefly at property taxes for after you buy the house. Anyway, let's take a look at the political geography of Mount Desert Island first. Okay, this is a map of Mount Desert Island. The island is divided into 4 towns, and all of the land on the island is in one of the 4 towns. Although we have what you would call rural property in terms of being physically rural, not on a city street, all land is in a town of some sort, and the town or city is the principal municipal designation in Maine. Counties exist here, but basically all they do is run the county justice system, and well, that's about it. And so, what are the 4 towns? Well, here in this map, up at the northern end of the island, you can see outlined in blue is the town of Bar Harbor. And that's about 30% of the island. Just below that, a little south of that, outlined in blue on the top and red everywhere else, is the town of Mount Desert. And that includes most of Somme Sound, Northeast Harbor, Seal Harbor, etc. And then, down in the southern part of the island, we have 2 towns. On the eastern side, there's Southwest Harbor, and on the western side is Tremont. Tremont includes Bass Harbor, Bernard, West Tremont, etc. So, now that we know where the various towns are, I'll point out one other thing about this map. You can see the area shown in green. That is not topographic shading like you often see. That is the extent of Acadia National Park. And that has an impact on buying a place to live here, because a lot of the island, something like 40% of the island, is in Acadia National Park. So anything that's green there is not available to buy a home in. So all of the people that live on the island, and there are about 10,000 of us, live in the sort of brownish areas. So anyway, what I'm going to do now is just talk a little bit about each of the towns, and we can go from there. Here's a list of the 4 towns, and just a little bit about how big they are. And I've also included Acadia National Park. So Mount Desert Island as a whole is 108 square miles. That's land, because there's a lot of water on the island in the form of lakes and stuff, but can't live in a lake. Acadia National Park makes up 47.2 square miles of the island. So that's, a bit over 40%, maybe about 44% of the island. Bar Harbor is the geographically biggest town at 42.24 square miles, and then Mount Desert at 36.88 square miles. Southwest Harbor is the smallest town at 13.5 square miles, and then Tremont is 16.83 square miles. Here I've shown population, total area including water and land area for the 4 towns. So Bar Harbor has about 5,100 people roughly. Varies a little bit from year to year, but it's fairly stable. And as I said, 63 square miles, that includes a lot of water, lakes, and also water around the edge of town, because Bar Harbor includes the Porcupine Islands and the water between the islands and Mount Desert Island. So the actual land area is quite a bit smaller. Mount Desert has 2,146 people. And again, that's fairly stable. And as I said, 36.88 square miles. Southwest Harbor has 1,750 people. The population of Southwest Harbor has been declining slowly over the last few years. And again, a relatively small town, fair amount of water, and then 13.5 square miles of land. Tremont, where I live in the village of Bass Harbor, is 1,500 people, and we are also slowly shrinking. And you can see we have a pretty big area, because the town of Tremont's geographic area includes a lot of Blue Hill Bay and some water south of Mount Desert Island. So less than a third of Tremont's geographical area is land. So total, Mount Desert Island has 10,500 people. The total population of the island is significant, largely because of tourism. Now, we have 10,500 people that live here, but Acadia National Park attracts a lot of tourists. For the last few years, it's been attracting around 4 million tourists. So that is roughly 400 times the population of the island. And most of those tourists come here sort of mid-June through mid-September. So you can count on a lot of people being here in the summer, and it's crowded pretty much everywhere you go. Whereas in the winter, it can be very, very quiet here, simply because most of the people that you'd see in the summer are gone. Okay, so we want to move to Mount Desert Island. We're going to buy a house because you can't rent one. So what does it cost to buy a house on Mount Desert Island? What I did was I went to the various real estate websites today and identified what the all the houses that are for sale on the island on January 22nd, 2024. And there are a total of 49 houses for sale on the island right now. And I'm going to go over them by town, just give you the basic information. We're going to look at the median price. In other words, the price point at which half of the houses are more expensive, half of the houses are less expensive. And we're going to look at the range of prices within each town. Okay, we'll start with Bar Harbor. Right now, the median house price in Bar Harbor is $775,000. There are 21 homes for sale, so that means 10 of the houses cost less than that and 10 cost more than that. So, but what's the range of house prices? Right now, the range of house prices is $359,000. That's the cheapest house for sale in Bar Harbor. And just for reference, that's a single wide mobile home on a piece of land. And the most expensive house in Bar Harbor is $11.2 million. 14 of the 21 homes in Bar Harbor come in at under $1 million. And I didn't calculate the average because it's pretty much meaningless, because it's skewed up by a number of very expensive houses. Now, what about Mount Desert, the town just south of Bar Harbor on the island? Well, there are 13 houses for sale in Mount Desert right now, and the median price there is $1.2 million. So that means 6 houses in Mount Desert are cheaper than that, and 6 are more expensive. Of those 13 houses, 4 of them are under $1 million. And as I said, the median house price is $1.2 million. Again, the average doesn't mean much because of the range of prices, which is $425,000 to $17 million. So there's some pricey properties in the town of Mount Desert. 4 of the 13 homes that are for sale are less than $1 million. And the cheapest house, $425,000, was a summer-only home. It is not insulated. So a lot of older homes on the island that were built as summer cottages don't have any insulation, and you really can't live in them all year. Okay, next, Southwest Harbor. Right now there are 9 homes for sale in Southwest Harbor. Southwest Harbor has a lot of expensive homes. The range of prices is $750,000 to $6,750,000. And right now, the median home in Southwest Harbor is $1.65 million. Now, what about Tremont? Tremont traditionally has been the cheapest part of the island to live in. And I was a little surprised that right now it's cheaper to buy a home in Bar Harbor. Go figure. But right now there are 6 homes for sale in Tremont. The range in prices is $800,000 to $1.3 million. And the median house price is $945,000. Only 3 homes are less than that, and 3 homes are more than that. So it's pretty expensive over here, too, even though this has traditionally been the sort of working class part of the island, more so than the other towns. Okay, so you can see it's not cheap to buy a house here. 49 houses for sale right now. The median price on the island as a whole is $1 million. So, realistically, except for a few of the homes in Bar Harbor itself, you can expect to pay around $1 million for a house here on Mount Desert Island. And the range, as I said, for the whole island is $356,000 for that single wide over near Otter Creek, to $17 million for a little waterfront place in the Mount Desert, and that is near Seal Harbor. So It's not cheap to buy a home here. You can't rent, and that is going to be a factor. So, what is another financial consideration for buying a home here on Mount Desert Island? Well, a big factor is property taxes. Property taxes in Maine are paid to the town that you live in. Most of the money that the town gets for its operations comes from property taxes. The bulk of that money in towns like those on the island goes for the school system, but everything in the town basically is funded by property taxes. We get some, but not very much money from the state. So what are the tax rates? Well, here they are right now. Bar Harbor, 8.68 mils. I did put an asterisk on Bar Harbor because they just authorized a $55 million bond to build a new elementary school. Remember, Bar Harbor has just over 5,000 people, so that is all the money to pay that bond off is going to come out of property taxes. And that is going to drive the tax rate up some there in Bar Harbor. Okay, what about Mount Desert, the second biggest town on the island? This is also by far the most affluent town on the island. It includes the villages of Seal Harbor and Northeast Harbor and Somesville, and there are a lot of very expensive homes there, so they generate a lot of tax revenue, and that keeps the overall mill rate in Mount Desert low. Not quite as low as Bar Harbor, but it is low, 8.72 mils. What about Southwest Harbor? Well, Southwest Harbor has very good services, but because it's a relatively small town, just over 1,750 people, it has to it takes a lot of money to run its police department and fire department. It has a town water system, and it has sewage treatment and all that. So Southwest Harbor is actually a pretty expensive town to live in from the point of view of property taxes, at 16.26 mils last year. Haven't seen the numbers for this year. Tremont is kind of in the middle, but Tremont doesn't have the services that Southwest Harbor has. Tremont does not have city water, so you are going to be on well water here. Tremont does not have sewage treatment system, so you're going to have a septic tank. Tremont does not have a police department, although the town does contract for a sheriff's deputies to kind of cruise around the town a little more than normal. And the fire department is a pure volunteer fire department here. So basically, we pay for the school over here and for road maintenance. And the property tax rate is 11.64 mils. If you want to get these in a different reference, 10 mils is 1%. So you can just divide these numbers by 10 and get the percentage rate of property tax. And houses are assessed at their full market value here. So, you know, your house sells for 11 million, you're going to pay property tax on 11 million. So what does that look like? I took the median home value for each of the houses for sale in each of the towns, multiplied it by the property tax rate to give you an idea, if you come here and buy the median house in each town, just what your property taxes will be. Bar Harbor, because it has some of the cheapest homes on the island right now, median home $775,000. Your property taxes on that home would be $6,750 a year. Mount Desert, $1.2 million median home, slightly higher tax rate, but because of the higher valuation, $10,460 a year in property taxes. Southwest Harbor, highest property taxes on the island, also the highest median home value at $1.65 million. There just aren't many cheap homes in Southwest Harbor. That means property tax bill on that median home of $26,875 a year. And Tremont, $945,000 median home price generates an $11,000 annual property tax bill. That's what I wanted to talk about today. I didn't want to keep this video as short as possible. So that gives you an idea, if you wanted to retire to Mount Desert Island right now, what you'd be looking at in terms of the cost to buy median home here on the island, and then what you'd be looking at in property taxes every year for that house. Okay, the next few videos I'm going to do on this are going to be looking at the individual towns. What's in those towns? And you know, what services do they have, and what is living, say, somewhere in the town of Mount Desert, like Southwest Harbor, Tremont, and Bass Harbor. So I think I'm going to, and Bar Harbor. So what I'm going to do is make an individual video on Bar Harbor, then one on Mount Desert, then one on Southwest Harbor, and one on Tremont. And the video will have a bit of information about what each of the towns looks like and what the homes there actually look like. Okay, so that wraps this video up. Hope you found it interesting, and hope if you're planning to retire here or thinking about retiring here, it provides you with some useful information. Thanks for watching.